Hey, it's Jeffrey Pepper Rogers here with a lesson for acoustic guitar on slash chords and how to use them to strengthen chord progressions and bass lines. So the slash in slash chords refers literally to the symbol in the chord, as in G/B, often pronounced also as G over B. And it basically just means you're playing a note other than the root on the bottom of the chord. So it's a relatively small change to a chord voicing that can have a really big impact on the sound. Basically what we're going to do in this lesson is build a library of slash chord shapes through a series of examples that are based on the chord progression from A Whiter Shade of Pale, the Procol Harum song from 1967, which has this Bach-inspired organ accompaniment that creates this powerful kind of descending movement where the bass line is perpetually descending. And the way that it does that is through using a lot of slash chords. So we're going to try that out in a bunch of different keys to get a handle on a lot of different combinations and voicings of slash chords. So let's dig in. First, some basics. So the simplest type of slash chord is just an inversion, which means a rearrangement of the notes in the chord. So in let's just take a C chord, a C major chord as an example. If I play that with C, that's my root, and E, G, on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings like that. They're stacked like that, C, E, G. I'm just going to call that a C chord. It's a C major chord. It's got the root, the C, on the bottom. But if I were to take that and take another note of the chord and put that on the bottom, I would have a slash chord. So for instance, C/G. If I were to take, there was my bass on the 5th string on the C. If I were to move that over to the 6th string, that would give me a C/G, a C over G, a slash chord with the 5th in the bass. So we're going to see a bunch of those in the examples in this lesson. You could also take the 3rd of the chord and put that on the bottom. That's another type of inversion. So for instance, C/E. If I were to play a C but make that E here on the 4th string my lowest note, that would be a C/E, C over E. So with this, where I'm playing a C major, but I'm throwing that E on the 6th string underneath it, that's a C/E. So inversions like that with the 3rd on the bottom sound less resolved than ones with the 5th on the bottom. You can also play slash chords that have a note in the bass that's not in the basic triad, as in, for instance, C/B, or that would be a D over C, or D/C. These sorts of slash chords are often transitional, used to create bass movement from one chord to the next. So for instance, to give a really simple example, if I were to play C major and then go to C over B, C/B, and A minor, that would be a way to make the bass go down in steps from C to B to A. So the bass walks down by steps. So we're going to see a lot of that kind of movement in these examples. Well, let's dig into this progression based on A Whiter Shade of Pale. So basically what happens in this song, the chords change every 2 beats and sometimes even more often. And the bass just keeps descending in steps almost non-stop through the whole thing. When it gets down to the lower part of the register, just jumps up an octave and starts descending in steps again. And what makes that kind of movement possible is using lots and lots of slash chords. So that's what we're going to be doing here, running through this progression in a bunch of different keys. But let's start in the key of C, which is the original key of this song. So in this first example, you'll find a number of slash chord shapes that use the fifth of the chord in the bottom. For instance, E minor slash B, where I've got that B is the fifth of the chord in the bass. C over G as the fifth in the bass. A minor over E is another example. Got F over C, F slash C, and then also G7 over D is another voicing I'm going to use in this example. All those are slash chords with the fifth in the bass. A couple of examples of slash chords with the third in the bass. This F slash A. So there's an F triad, open fifth string, puts my A on the bottom. And this is a G7 slash B. So both of those chord voicings have the third in the bass. And finally, there is a one slash chord that has a note on the bottom that's not in the chord. So I've got to go from G, and I'm going to use this G slash F. So that F natural is not a note in the G triad, and I'm going to be using that to kind of go from a G, G slash F, and take the bass down to that open sixth string. So again, a kind of a transitional chord. And throughout these examples, using the same basic arpeggio pattern, so I'm playing with my fingers here, and just to show this on a C, I play the first note with my thumb, that's the bass note. The next note on the next string over here, on the fourth string with my index finger, so thumb, index, and then I'm playing the third and second strings on the C chord, playing those simultaneously with my middle and ring fingers, and then back to the index again. So the pattern is thumb, index, middle ring, index. And that is going to be the picking pattern that's going to go through almost all of the examples that follow. So here is the progression from Whiter Shade of Pale played in the key of C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try the progression in some other keys using some different slash chord shapes. First, let's take this to the key of G. And once again, we're going to have some slash chords with the fifth in the bass. This is a B minor over F sharp. This is E minor slash B. We saw this one before, C slash G. And also playing the middle four strings for a D7 slash A. We also have a couple of voicings here with the third in the bass. That's C slash E. And also this one is a D7 slash F sharp. And we have one slash chord with a note outside the chord in the bass, so that's a D slash C, which again is going to be a transitional chord here, moving down from a D to another chord. So one thing that you'll notice here is that I'm not playing all the strings that I could on these chords. So for instance, that B minor over F sharp. Now I could be fretting the 5th string there. It's a B note there. But I'm opting not to because I moved the bass note over to the 6th string to that F sharp. And I'm playing it that way just to kind of get a cleaner bass note, more separation between the bass note and the rest of the chord. That's a choice you may want to make sometimes, to just skip a string in order to have your alternate bass note, your slash bass note, more prominent. So C over G, C slash G is another example, which I'm often playing like this. I could be playing like this and fretting the 5th string, but if I do it like this, I kind of leave more space for that G bass note to register. So also on the elsewhere on the chord, so this D over F sharp. Now I could be playing that 1st string at the 2nd fret. I could be playing that F sharp on top, but I'm opting not to. I'm actually skipping over the 5th string too, which I could be including. Basically, I just like the tighter sound of using fewer strings on that. It's also a little bit easier to play. But the main thing is that, just because you can play, you fret more notes in a chord doesn't mean you should necessarily include everything that you can, because often, reduced voicings, 3 strings, however many strings, may just musically sound better than having all the possible strings ringing in a chord. So here's how this progression sounds in the key of G. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now check out the same progression in the key of D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try out a couple more keys here. So first, A major. So there's some nice options in A for bringing in some open strings into these chords. Let's start up here with this A on the 5th fret. Got my open 5th string bass note. And I could include also the 1st string, open string. So I go from A major to this C sharp minor over G sharp. It's just a nice easy move. It's close by if I play the A up here. That's a C sharp minor 7 where I'm leaving those top 2 strings open. And this is an E7/B, where again, I'm leaving the top 2 strings open. So just a little way to sweeten the sound with some open strings in this key of A. So here's what the progression sounds like in A. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the key of E also gives some opportunities to use more open strings. You can play this E starting up here with my index finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and leave that 2nd string open and go from E to G sharp minor over D sharp, C sharp minor 7, E5 over B, all with that open 2nd string ringing out there. One other thing to note in this key is this shape, B7 / F sharp, B7 over F sharp. Now I can play that here. I can include the open 2nd string because I'm playing a B chord, so that's the note of the 2nd string. But if I were to leave out the open string, I've got this slash chord shape, which is extremely useful one to move around the neck, and it's a kind of a staple in swing rhythm guitar, and just a really handy chord shape to know. So now here's the progression in the key of E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got one more key to share here, which is every guitarist's favorite. Of course, I'm talking about the key of F. And actually, you may be surprised to find when you do this progression in F how nicely it actually falls. There's a bunch of open position slash chords that come up when you do this progression in F. So here is how it comes out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that you've tried out this progression from Whiter Shade of Pale in 6 keys, you've covered quite a few slash chord shapes and combinations. So as you work on your own arrangements, try substituting some of these kinds of slash chords in to create a more sort of connected sound in the progression, and to make the bass move in smaller steps as opposed to jumping all around. One final note about slash chords is that you can use them to introduce more movement into a progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the slash chords. So look for places like that where you can maybe insert a slash chord where the progression isn't moving much to add a little movement and move the bass, move the harmony toward the next chord. So I hope you get some ideas from all this that you can put to work in your own songs. Thanks a lot for listening. Once again, for Acoustic Guitar, I'm Jeffrey Pepper Rogers.